Before the invention of coins, the Iranian plateau used a barter system and metal ingots for trade. Pieces of silver, weighed and cut, were widely used in business. They were not coins, but weighed silver, often exchanged in lumps or bars. Silver was already valued in Elamite, Median, and early Persian cultures. It was used for taxes, temple offerings, dowries, and trade. However, there was no official minting, no standard weight, and no stamped symbol. This background is important because it shows that silver had economic value long before coins appeared. The world's first true coins were invented in Lydia, which is modern Turkey, around 600 to 630 BCE. These coins were electrum pieces stamped with royal symbols. When the Achaemenid Persians conquered Lydia under Cyrus the Great, who ruled from 559 to 530 BCE, they inherited the idea of coinage. This is a turning point. Persia did not invent coinage, but Persia perfected it. Under Cyrus the Great, Persia used some Lydian coins but did not create its own silver coin. The first official, standardized Persian royal coinage began under Darius I is considered the founder of Persian currency. He created a dual metal system, gold coin called the Daric, and silver coin known as the Siglos, which is also spelled shekel, drachm, or sigloi. So the first Iranian silver coin was introduced around 520 BCE during the reign of Darius I. The silver coin was called, well, in Old Persian, the exact native name is actually unknown. The Greeks referred to it as the Siglos, and that's the name historians still use today. In English it's called the Siglos, or sometimes the Persian silver shekel. The Siglos followed a pretty precise weight standard, about 5.35 grams of silver, and it was based on the Babylonian shekel system. Each Siglos was struck by hand, using a hammer and engraved dies. The design, interestingly, stayed fairly constant for almost 2 centuries. On the front, or obverse, there was a powerful image of the Persian king, often called the Archer King. This was a kneeling running figure, dressed in Persian robes holding a bow and arrow, and sometimes carrying a spear. This figure symbolized royal authority and divine protection. On the back, or reverse, there was just a simple incuse punch mark, made by hammering the back of the blank. There was no detailed image, just a textural punch, not a symbolic one. This design is actually unique in world history and is considered an iconic representation of Persian imperial power. To manage the massive Achaemenid Empire, Darius needed a stable taxation system, a reliable way to pay soldiers, and, honestly, a way to unify the economy across more than 30 satrapies. The Siglos became the backbone of the imperial economy. The gold Daric was used for high-value transactions, while the silver Siglos was used for everyday transactions. So the Siglos was really the first truly Persian silver currency. The Siglos circulated all across the vast Persian Empire, through Iran, Mesopotamia, Anatolia, Egypt, Syria, the Indus region, and Central Asia. Greek soldiers even called it the Archer coin. These coins have been found at archaeological sites from India all the way to Turkey, which really proves just how widely they circulated. So the Siglos went through several phases, which are, often called Type 1 to Type 5. The earliest type, Type 1, which dates from around 520 to 480 BCE, had these really crude punch marks and a pretty basic archer figure. Then, moving on to Types 2 and 3 from about 480 to 420 BCE, you see improved details, thicker flans, and a much sharper image of the king. By the time you get to Types 4 and 5, which cover 420 to 330 BCE, the art becomes way more refined, with a more accurate anatomy of the archer and a really consistent weight. By the end of the Achaemenid era, the Siglos had become one of the most recognizable silver coins of the ancient world. After Alexander the Great conquered Persia, he actually continued minting Persian-style coins for a short time. But gradually Greek-style silver drachms started to replace the Siglos. Then during the Seleucid Empire, which lasted from 312 to 63 BCE, Greek kings introduced the tetradrachm system, but they still relied on those Persian silver mines. The Parthians brought back a lot of Persian traditions, and they introduced the drachm and tetradrachm, featuring portraits of Parthian kings. Silver coins became the main currency, and the weight was extremely standardized. The Parthian silver drachm, in fact, is among the longest-lasting coin types in world history. The Sasanians really brought Persian silver coinage to its peak, and the main silver coin was known as the drachm, or sometimes called the dirham. These coins were actually quite distinctive. They had thin, broad flans, and typically featured a portrait of the king wearing a royal crown. On the reverse side there was a fire altar, which is a symbol of Zoroastrianism. The silver purity was impressively high, sometimes reaching up to 95%. Sasanian silver coins didn't just stay in Persia either. They influenced Islamic dirhams, Indian coinage, and even some medieval European designs. Under the Umayyads and Abbasids, Persian mints kept striking coins, and the silver coins were still called dirham. For many decades, these coins actually retained the Sasanian weight, which is pretty interesting. In fact, some of the early Islamic dirhams even kept Sasanian designs, with Arabic inscriptions added later on. During the medieval period, Iran saw a continuous production of silver coins. Dirhams remained the standard, and, some rulers even introduced artistic calligraphy to their coins. Trade with Central Asia and the Silk Road really expanded the use of silver coins during this time. The Safavid dynasty, really brought about a revival of Persian cultural identity. Among their many achievements, they introduced silver coins, such as the Shahi, and also the Abbasid silver coins during the reign of Shah Abbas I. It's fascinating to note that Persian calligraphy reached entirely new artistic heights on these silver coins, showcasing the elegance and sophistication of the era. So, silver coins actually remained the backbone of Iran's monetary system for quite some time. The most common denominations you'd find were the Shahi, the Qiran, and the Riyal. During the Qajar rule, European minting techniques, started influencing Iranian coinage, which was a pretty significant shift. After 1925, during the Pahlavi era, modern minting machines were introduced, and silver coins, they became less common as economies shifted to paper and base metals. These days, Iran doesn't mint silver coins for circulation anymore, but silver coins do exist as commemorative issues. Collectors honestly highly value the ancient Siglos as an iconic part of Iran's heritage. The first Iranian silver coin, the Siglos, is important because it represents the first national Persian currency, the economic unity of the Achaemenid Empire, and one of the first globally circulating silver coins. It's really an emblem of Persian power and administrative genius, and it marks the beginning of Iran's long, rich tradition of coinage. Iran's first official silver coin was the Siglos, created by Darius I around 520 BCE. It weighed about 5.35 grams. The front showed the Persian archer king, while the back had an incus punch mark. This coin circulated across the Persian Empire for about 200 years, and it really became the foundation of Persian coinage history.